Hi, so today I want to take a look at how we can use modulators simply but effectively inside of Bitwig Studio. And for this little technique, I guess, that we're going to be looking at, I'm going to use Comet by Polyverse. So this is a really nice sounding reverb plugin to my ears. And what's really cool about it is that it's got some parameters that we're going to be modulating that you can get a huge effect from with just very subtle, very minimal modulation. And so what I'm going to be using for this is a polygrid. If you don't know what this is, if you're new to Bitwig Studio, they just very recently, this is still in beta in fact, released some devices called grid devices. And so these let you just kind of build whatever synthesizer, whatever effect that you want. So I've got something very simple. I'm gonna just play it without Comet activated. I'm gonna have color copy in the effects chain. And you notice I have these effects nested inside of the grid device, and a little bit more on that later. But here is what my very simple grid synthesizer sounds like. And today we're just gonna be using the keyboard, literally the typing keyboard, as our musical keyboard, because I'm lazy like that, and for a lot of things it kind of does the job if you know what notes you want to play around. So really simple grid patch. We've got a pretty stretched out attack release module. So the release is pretty far at around 5 seconds. The attack is pretty far out, 300 milliseconds. We've got 2 LFOs, and one of these is modulating the filter cutoff. The filter cutoff is set to 6 decibels. I like 6 decibels. I really like it. I like letting in some of those higher frequencies. It sounds a little bit harsher than the other filters, so you just get more harmonic content. When you're working with a reverb plugin like Comet, that's really what I like to see come through and get emphasized by the reverb. It's just the higher frequencies that a lower dB lets in a filter module. And then we've also got this other LFO modulating the skew of the triangle. So it's kind of switching between a sawtooth and then a little bit more of a triangle as it modulates. So let's turn on Comet, see what it sounds like before we modulate anything. And I'm going to turn up the mix all the way up to wet. So you can see what that sounds like. It's also a really great way just to learn plugins. It's just to switch the mix all the way up to wet, and then just tweak parameters. So in this case, I'm going to use the LFOs. So this is why we have these effects, and especially Comet, because it's what I'm using in this video. That's why we have these effects nested in this effects block here, and this chain, because we can actually steal the modulations from the grid. So these 2 LFO modules, we can use these to modulate the parameters in Comet. So let's look at how we can do that. So I'm going to take the high damp, and I want there to be a fast modulation on the high damp. Let's listen to what that sounds like. So as the modulation climbs up higher, we get some higher frequencies coming in. I like that. Alright, let's do, for low damp, let's do the slower LFO. You can see the speeds of the LFOs are set down here. So we have 16 Hertz and 33 Hertz for each LFO. And I'm going to modulate the color. Let's make that one slow. So Comet is fantastic at making really lush pads. You can hear the really subtle changes that are happening as we're performing these modulations, but if you're really listening, you get some nice changes in the tone. to emphasize this a bit more, let's modulate the detune. How I'm modulating these, by the way, I just tap each parameter, and then Bitwig is going to show the last touched parameter with your mouse or with your touchscreen, and then it surfaces the parameter for you to modulate. And then let's do the decay too. The nice slow LFO. I love it. I could just listen to that all day. But I think that's going to do it for us. I think this is enough to kind of illustrate the point. If you go back and rewind to listen to what it sounded like before we applied all these parameters, if you really spend some time with the plugin and you learn which parameters are sort of going to get you the most benefit with subtle modulations. So with Comet, I've worked with it for a little while and I've kind of figured out, excuse me, if you modulate detune, decay, these dampening parameters, and the color, you're going to get some good stuff from modulating each of those. So hopefully this was helpful, and thank you for watching.